Hello and welcome back. Sorry, Holly's just turning off her walkie-talkie. So, from one of the smaller of the zoo's inhabitants to the tallest, and behind me I have Molly and Maggie, ZSL's resident giraffes. And I'm joined by the wonderful keeper Holly, who's going to be putting some browse out for the giraffes. So hopefully Molly might come over and say hello. So, Holly, what do we have in this big leafy sort of salad?
Yeah, well, this is just a big bundle of fig leaves, basically. So we have different types of browse for our giraffe. We like to vary it. You wouldn't like to eat the same thing every day. Same for our giraffe. So they've got fig leaves today, and they've also got a little bit of willow, a little bit of sycamore. We like to vary it.
Lovely job. So whilst we're waiting for, she's too busy eating on the other tree, but whilst we're waiting for Molly to come on over, sort of what's been quite nice is through lockdown that even though the zoo was closed for a few months, people were still able to enjoy the giraffes because the road is literally just there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually opposite the giraffe building we've got a gate which is access for vehicles and things like that, and it's a prime viewing for the giraffe. So all through lock-through we had people still out exercising, doing their daily exercise, and they'd all stop and have a good look at the giraffe. It was quite nice.
It's absolutely fantastic. And one thing that I've been told from staff at London Zoo is that the ambulance teams often had their very well-deserved breaks right outside the gate, which is why we have this lovely sign on the old giraffe house.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so nice that the works team actually put that sign up. So the ambulance has always stopped throughout, not even like before lockdown, during lockdown, and they still stop now for their breaks. And you know, you give them a wave and they all point at the sun, and it's like, oh, this is so nice. It's just a way of showing our appreciation for them. So.
Absolutely fantastic. And Molly's definitely not playing ball right now, which never work with animals or children. So whilst we're waiting for Molly to come on over, so we've given them some browse today, which is very much a bit more of their summer diet. What do you sort of feed them through the winter when all the leaves fall off the trees?
Yeah, absolutely. You've made a really good point there. So in summer you can see all of the leaves, all of the trees have leaves on them. In winter, all of those fall off. So what can we offer the giraffe? We do give them just branches for them to strip, so they will eat the bark as well. But they primarily want the leaves. So what we'll do in summer is take these leaves off. It's very time consuming, but we will strip these leaves and pack them into what is called a silage barrel. So that's one of these things right here. And what you have to do is really pack those leaves down, get rid of as much air as possible, and then the leaves kind of ferment a little bit, and then that becomes food for the giraffe over winter. So when there's no leaves, we give them fermented leaves instead.
Fantastic. So, and I've heard there's quite a big, obviously the ZSL community is growing and it's getting quite massive now. As much as we've got the keepers working day in, day out, we also have some fantastic volunteers that will work around the zoo doing various bits and bobs, educating the public, helping hands-on with the keepers, but also they get involved with making the silage through the summer for the giraffes during the winter as well, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had corporate volunteers coming in the past, which are great because we literally have groups of like 20 to 30 people coming in from businesses, and they help us pack the silage barrels. It sounds like a lot of people, but actually it takes so long to pack these barrels. It can take one person about an hour to do one by themselves. And we have about 150 just to feed the hoof stock section, and obviously the hoof stock section are not the only animals that need browse. We've got the primates, the AA teams, the animal adventures, the goats, things like that. So we have an awful lot of barrels to fill, so our volunteers are so important to us, and because as keepers we wouldn't be able to fill them just by ourselves, especially over lockdown. We've had half the amount of staff in because we've had to split shifts. So yeah, we're pretty low on silage at the moment, so we need the volunteers, definitely.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully after this we'll talk a little bit more about signing up to be a volunteer at the end of this one. It's raining. Do you think she's not happy because it's raining?
Yeah, probably. So normally as soon as the giraffes see fresh browse, especially browse like this, they'd be straight over. But as you say, it has started spitting, and I think I want to go in, let alone the giraffe. So yeah, they probably won't venture over. Which
is such a shame because they were here a minute ago, and then it started raining just before we went live, and she's gone to the other side, and she's joined up with Maggie, who is the other giraffe, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they're half sisters, you told me earlier.
Yeah, half sisters. They came from Chester Zoo in 2009, and so I think they've got the same dad, different mum, so yeah, half sisters.
Lovely. And who's the boss? Is one in charge?
Yeah, there is actually. So you normally in groups of females, you normally have a dominant female, and in our case it's Molly, so the one a little bit further back. You can tell her apart. She's got these lovely, nice-looking ossicones, whereas her sister Maggie has got quite scruffy-looking ossicones.
Love it. And ossicone is such a great word. I love that. So the ossicones are sort of, for want of a better word, the stumpy horn-looking things on top of the giraffe's heads. Yeah. It's made out of bone, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. So they're called ossicones because they're not a true horn. A true horn has got solid bone.
Yeah.
And once you lose a horn, that's it, it's gone, not like an antler that will grow back.
Yeah.
They've got a special name because they start off quite wobbly, a bit like cartilage, and then the bone grows into it, and then they stiffen up and become hard. So they've got a bit of a funny name. Same as the Okapi,
Yeah.
they're ossicles as well.
Wicked. If you had to choose a favourite between the Okapi and the giraffe, what would you go for?
Oh, you shouldn't have favourites, but I can't help but love these girls.
Fantastic. And I was hoping to have a giraffe here so I could talk to you about some more of their adaptations, but we'll do it anyway.
Okay.
But just before we went live, I managed to feed one of the giraffes, and just their tongues, they're about 50 centimetres long, aren't they? And enormous things. And so, to tell me a bit more, they've got some pretty neat adaptations for their tongues to help them with their foraging and also to prevent them from sunburn as well.
Yeah, exactly. So as you said, protect them from sunburn. Their tongues are actually like a dark purpley blue colour, and that's just, as you say, to stop them from getting sunburn out in the wild. So where they come from in Africa, they're going to be eating all the time, sticking that tongue out constantly. It's skin at the end of the day, it's going to burn. So the darker it is, the less likely it is to get burned. So that's a great adaptation they've got. And, you know, as you said before, 50 centimetres, I mean, that's top stretch, but it's about 40 to 50.
Yeah.
That is a long tongue, and that is just an adaptation that they can use. They wrap their tongues around the leaves, pull, and off they come.
Wonderfully demonstrated.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so they are well adapted to browsing, basically, constantly.
Lovely, because as well, the tongues are sort of thickened, because the acacia trees that they'll be foraging on out in the savannas are very, very thorny, aren't they?
Yeah,
so
really
that big thickened tongue really helps them pull it off without damaging their tongue in the process as well. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get lucky, are we? I think they're going to stay there.
Not today.
So before we wrap up with the giraffes, we were just talking about being a volunteer earlier and sort of supporting the zoo through these sorts of times. So if it's something you're interested in doing, whether it's getting stood up by a giraffe like I have, or helping around the zoo doing various bits and bobs, or making the very important silage for all of the hoof stock here, please head to the ZSL webpage to find out more information and sign up to become a volunteer.